Pay close attention, because today I'm going to give you the keys to ignite desire in any woman with something as simple as a conversation. But make no mistake, I'm not talking about any boring or empty chit-chat. I'm talking about using every word as a seduction tool, mastering the art of conversation to awaken emotions, create tension, and take a woman's desire to the limit, all with what you say and how you say it. If you think what I'm about to tell you is too complicated or won't work for you, let me tell you something. That defeatist mindset is what has always kept you on the sidelines. Today, you're going to stop being that guy who doesn't know how to act and learn how to take the reins. But before we go any further, like this video and subscribe, because I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, even if it stings a bit. Verbalize your charisma. The art of speaking directly to desire. Let's start with something simple yet powerful. Speaking directly to desire. If you want to excite a woman, you can't beat around the bush or talk about irrelevant things. You have to verbalize your charisma. Make her feel that every word coming out of your mouth is aimed at something deeper, something more personal. How do you do this? Easy. Stop talking like everyone else. Don't ask her the same old questions other guys ask. Don't be predictable. Instead of saying, "What are you doing?" or "How was your day?" say something that takes her out of her comfort zone. You know, you have a very unique way of seeing the world. I find it intriguing. That's not just a simple question. It's a statement that plays with her mind, making her think and, most importantly, making her curious about you. Do you see the difference? A phrase like that establishes a much deeper emotional connection and opens the door for her to want to know more. Dopamine dialogues. Activating her pleasure circuits. Have you ever heard of dopamine? Of course, it's that chemical released in the brain when you feel pleasure. What you probably didn't know is that you can activate those dopamine circuits with a good conversation. And no, you don't need to be a scientist to do it. You just need to understand that if you can make a woman feel intrigued, excited, and surprised by what you say, you're stimulating her brain in the same way you would if you were touching her. For example, it's not enough to be funny. You need to mix humor with mystery. Instead of telling her a typical joke, play with her emotions. A comment like, "I don't know what it is, but there's something about you that intrigues me. Something I can't quite figure out," makes her mind engage. You give her a bit of mystery, a bit of intrigue, and now she'll want to discover what fascinates you so much. You're activating her curiosity and pleasure just with your words. Captivating conversations. Deep psychology in every word. Here's where many of you go wrong. You think talking is just saying whatever comes to mind, but the truth is, if you want to captivate a woman, you need to use deep psychology in every word you say. What does this mean? You need to understand what she really wants to hear. It's not just about pretty words or empty compliments. It's about saying things that awaken something inside her, something that makes her think of you when you're not around. For example, instead of saying, "You're beautiful," which she's heard 1,000 times, say something like, "What attracts me most to you isn't your beauty, but the way you make everything seem more interesting when you're around." This isn't just a compliment. You're showing her that you appreciate her for something deeper than her looks. You're playing with her mind and creating a real emotional connection. Verbal harmony. Syncing your words with her feelings. Here's another common mistake. Not knowing how to sync your words with what she feels. If you want to excite a woman, you need to learn to read her emotions, to feel what's going on in her mind, and adjust to that. If she's talking about something she's passionate about, don't abruptly change the subject. Use that to your advantage. For instance, if she's sharing a topic that excites her, you could say, "I love the way you get passionate about this. That energy is contagious." What you're doing here is creating harmony between what she feels and what you're telling her, generating an immediate connection. It's proven that when a person feels understood on an emotional level, they open up more and feel more comfortable. That comfort is what eventually leads her to feel attracted to you. The butterfly effect of seduction. Small words, big impacts. Don't underestimate the power of small words. Sometimes, what seems like an insignificant comment can have a huge impact. Something as simple as, "I don't know why, but I love how you express yourself," can plant a seed of desire in her mind. That little phrase stays in her head, and she'll start thinking more about you, about why you said that, about what it meant. The butterfly effect of seduction is real. A small word, a subtle gesture, can trigger a chain reaction of attraction. You don't have to be extravagant or say very complex things to catch her attention. You just have to be precise, knowing what to say at the right moment. And when you do, the impact is much greater than you can imagine. Dialectical duality. Contrasts that attract and provokes. Now we're getting into something more advanced. Dialectical duality. This is a concept that states that contradictions can be incredibly attractive when handled well. For example, if in a conversation you can balance being a little challenging while also showing interest, you create a dynamic that drives her wild. Say something like, "I'm not sure you're as interesting as you seem, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt." Bam! There's your contrast. You're challenging her, but at the same time you're saying she intrigues you. This combination of opposites provokes a strong emotional reaction in women. They love a challenge, but they also want to feel desired. Learn to handle that duality, and I assure you that attraction will be inevitable. Fascination narratives. Stories she'll want to experience. Stories are a powerful tool in any conversation. If you want to excite a woman just by talking, learn to tell stories that make her imagine herself living those experiences. Don't tell just any story. Tell one that awakens her imagination and makes her visualize something exciting, something that takes her out of her routine. For example, you could tell her about an exhilarating trip you had or an experience where you felt pure adrenaline. But here's the key. Include her in that story even if she's not there. Tell her something like, "You would have been perfect to be there with me. You would have loved every second." With that, you're not only making her imagine herself in that scenario, but you're also making her wish to live something similar with you. Playful language. Play with words. Win emotions. Don't underestimate the power of playful language. Playing with words lightly and funnily can be incredibly seductive. Women love men who can play with emotions without taking things too seriously. For instance, if she tells you she likes a certain type of music, you could respond with something like, "That just makes me wonder if you have good taste in other things too." You're teasing, flirting, and creating a light but tension-filled atmosphere. It's a game, but a game that will take you far if you play it right. Direct dialogue. Brutal honesty as a tool for attraction. Sometimes, the best way to seduce a woman is to be brutally honest. That doesn't mean you should be rude, but be direct. If something attracts you to her, say it outright. For example, you could say, "I'm not going to lie, since I saw you, I felt there was something about you I want to explore more deeply." Brutal honesty is a powerful tool because it breaks the norm. Most men beat around the bush, fearing being too direct. But when you're clear and direct without being vulgar, you demonstrate a confidence that women find irresistible. What you're telling her, unfiltered, is that you're not afraid to express your desire, and that's extremely attractive. The trick here is to not sound desperate but rather self-assured. That confidence is what will hook her because she'll know you're in control of the situation. Accelerating attraction. Quick conversation techniques for immediate results. There are times when you can't afford to let the conversation drag on forever. You need immediate results, and that's where the quick conversation technique comes into play. The goal here is to create an intense emotional connection in a short period of time, and the way to do it is by pushing the boundaries from the start. How do you do it? From the moment you start talking to her, you begin breaking the ice in a more personal way. Ask questions that emotionally challenge her. What's been the most exciting experience of your life? What makes you feel most alive? These questions not only provoke her to open up, but also show that you're interested in something deeper than superficial chatter. The key here is to steer the conversation towards something emotional, something that quickly awakens her feelings. Don't wait until half an hour has passed to talk about important or emotional topics. Take the conversation to that level from the start. If you can get her to feel emotionally connected to you in a short amount of time, you've accelerated the attraction, and the result will be immediate. You won't just be another guy passing through her life. You'll be the one who left a strong and lasting impression. If you've made it this far, my friend, comment below with the word 100% or something else to let me know you've absorbed the knowledge from this video so far. For more interesting topics, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it later. Let's keep going. Intimate secrets. What they'll never tell you about their fantasies. Today, I'm going to take you into a territory that few dare to explore, yet everyone wants to be in. The most intimate secrets of female desire. Those thoughts they keep locked away, that they won't tell you to your face because honestly they don't think you can handle it. And the truth is, many of you couldn't. But if you're here, if you really want to understand what they'll never say, you need to be prepared for what's coming. Like this video and subscribe, because what you're going to learn today won't be found anywhere else. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to know to improve your confidence and skills with women. Decoding desires. The algorithm of female pleasure. First, you need to understand something. Female desire is like a complicated algorithm, but if you know how to decode it, you're in control. Women aren't going to tell you openly what excites them or what their deepest fantasies are because they fear being judged or that you'll see them differently. But that doesn't mean you can't decipher their signals. It's all in how you listen and observe. When you're talking to a woman and notice how her tone of voice changes, how she leans in a little when you mention something daring, that's a clue. It's not just about what they say, but how they say it and how they react. Every word, every gesture is a piece of the algorithm you need to decode to understand what she truly desires. If you learn to read between the lines, you'll discover she's telling you more than you think. Unlocked fantasies. VIP access to forbidden thoughts now. Let's get to the interesting part. If you want access to those forbidden thoughts, you need to earn the key. And don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about being an arrogant guy who thinks he deserves everything. I'm talking about creating such a deep connection that she feels she can trust you with her darkest desires. How do you achieve that? First, you have to be someone she feels safe with. Not safe in a boring sense, but safe in that she won't be judged when she tells you her fantasies are much bolder than you imagine. If you can get a woman to open up to you about her deepest desires, you've just become her VIP access to a world few get to enter. But of course, you need to handle that information with care and respect. If you do it right, you won't just earn her trust, but her desire. The maze of desire. Navigating the secret hallways of her mind. Entering a woman's mind is like walking through a maze filled with dark hallways and corners you didn't even know existed. If you try to go too fast, you'll get lost. But if you walk carefully, paying attention to every detail, you'll find the way to her deepest desires. A technique that never fails is to ask questions that stimulate her imagination. Don't ask superficial things like, "What's your favorite movie?" No, go deeper. Ask her things that make her think, that lead her into those dark hallways she usually avoids. What's the most unexpected place you've ever felt most alive? Or, is there something you've always wanted to try but never had the chance? These kinds of questions will not only make her open up to you, but will also take you to the corners of her mind where her most intense fantasies hide. If you navigate that maze well, you'll emerge with such a deep connection that attraction will be inevitable. Emotion explorer. Discovering unexplored territories of pleasure. This is where things get interesting. A woman's emotions are the map to her hidden fantasies. And you, my friend, need to become an explorer of those emotions. Don't be afraid to delve into what she feels, even if it seems intimidating. Sometimes, women have fantasies they don't even fully understand themselves. How do you explore them? You have to be the kind of man who not only listens but also responds to what she's showing you. If she talks about something that made her feel vulnerable, don't brush it off or trivialize it. That's a door. If you know how to open it correctly, she'll start trusting you more and more. A woman's pleasure isn't just physical. It's emotional. If you explore her emotions, you'll uncover desires you didn't even know existed. The conquest of the taboo. Revealing the forbidden with tact and talent. A woman's most intense fantasies are often related to the forbidden. But this is where you need to be careful. You can't dive headfirst into the taboo without tact or talent. If you want to conquer that territory, you need to do it subtly without forcing anything. For instance, in a light conversation, you might casually mention something daring, like a comment about a spicy topic, and see how she reacts. If she seems interested or even uncomfortably intrigued, that's your clue. But don't rush it. Let her take the lead. And when she's ready to open that door, you'll be there to walk through it with her. Debunking myths, truths and lies about female desire. One of the biggest mistakes men make is believing the myths about female desire. Things like, women don't like bold fantasies, or they only seek a deep emotional connection. False. The reality is much more complex. Women have fantasies just as intense as men do, but the difference is they don't always express them openly. The truth is that many women have desires they've never confessed, not even to themselves. But if you can debunk those myths and give them space to explore their fantasies, you'll find a version of her that no one else knows. Hidden and revealed. Strategies to access deepest fantasies. The trick to accessing those fantasies is knowing how to play with what's hidden and what's revealed. You can't ask her to spill everything at once. You need to build trust slowly, revealing small fragments of yourself so she feels safe revealing hers. For example, if you want her to talk about her fantasies, start by confessing something of your own. It doesn't have to be too intimate, but enough for her to see you're willing to share as well. When she feels it's an exchange, she'll open up more, and the fantasies you thought were out of reach will start surfacing. Emotional archaeology. Unearthing hidden treasures in the psyche. Think of this as an excavation. Every conversation, every well-placed question is like unearthing a little treasure in a woman's mind. You have to be patient, knowing when to dig deeper and when to stop to avoid breaking something valuable. If you start touching on delicate topics too soon, you'll lose her. The key is to ask the right questions at the right moment. A provocative comment or question at just the right time can be the spark that reveals a hidden desire she's kept for a long time. You need to be patient, but at the same time strategic. Mirror of desires. Reflecting and expanding her fantasies. When she finally starts to open up to you and confesses one of her fantasies, don't just listen passively. Reflect back what she tells you and expand on it. If she says she's always dreamed of a particular experience, instead of just saying, "Wow, interesting," dig deeper. Ask her what else excites her about that idea, how it would make her feel. When she sees that you not only accept her fantasy but also expand on it, she'll feel even more connected to you. She'll see you as someone who understands her on a level no one else has reached. Unveiling mysteries. Entering the vault of the most intimate secrets. At the end of the day, entering the vault of a woman's most intimate secrets isn't something you achieve overnight. It requires patience, trust, and knowing exactly what to do with the information she's giving you. When you finally get into that vault, it's crucial to know how to handle what you find. This isn't a game. You're touching the deepest and most vulnerable parts of a woman. If you handle it well, you'll become someone she feels completely free to be herself with, to explore her desires without fear of judgment. But if you mess it up, if you react poorly or take it lightly, I guarantee she will close off like a sealed door and never trust you with that part of herself again. The secret pleasure. Discover how to drive young women wild for you. Let's be clear from the start. If you think seducing a young woman is as simple as using your experience or age, you're very mistaken. That's not enough. Today, we're going to dive into the details of how you can really drive young women wild for you. And no, it's not about being someone you're not or pretending to be younger. It's about mastering certain aspects of yourself that they will find irresistible, regardless of the age difference. So if you're ready to learn how to do it, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we're not beating around the bush here. We're getting straight to the point, the practical stuff, and what really works. Pay attention because what's coming will change the game. Attractive alchemy. Turning the ordinary into exceptionally irresistible. The first thing you need to understand is that what makes a young woman attractive isn't physical perfection or an explosive personality. What really draws them in is when a man can transform the ordinary into something exceptional. This doesn't mean you have to be extravagant or pretend to be someone you're not. It's about making what you already have seem extraordinary in her eyes. For example, if you know how to listen, turn that skill into your best weapon. Young women, often surrounded by immature guys, value when a man truly listens and isn't just waiting for his turn to speak. That sets you apart immediately. But be careful. It's not enough to just be a good listener. You have to know how to respond in a way that surprises her, that makes her feel you're on another level. Do you see what I'm saying? It's about transforming the basic into something irresistible. Mastering the unpredictable. Surprising with style and strategy. If there's one thing that drives young women wild, it's the unpredictable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about being erratic or irresponsible, but about surprising them in a controlled way. Young women are used to certain patterns of behavior. They know what to expect from guys their age. But if you can break those patterns strategically, you become someone they can't ignore. For example, instead of typical boring texts or invitations, do something unexpected. If she mentions she likes a certain type of exotic food, take her to a place she didn't even know existed. Make her experience with you something she's never had before. The unpredictable creates mystery, and mystery generates desire. Keeping her intrigued is key. Pioneering pleasures. Innovating the art of seduction. Don't limit yourself to traditional seduction tactics. If you really want to excite a young woman, you have to innovate. This doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel, but you should be creative and different. Young women, especially in this age of social media and overexposure, have seen and heard it all. If you stick to the same tactics as everyone else, they'll simply overlook you. How do you innovate? Introduce new experiences. It can be something as simple as an unexpected activity or as profound as a conversation about topics that aren't usually touched on. Superficial conversations won't get you anywhere. Dare to talk about intense subjects that show her you're different, that you have more layers than meet the eye. That's where seduction really becomes something she won't forget. Charm strategies. Injecting novelty and nervousness. Charm is a tool that can be lethal if you know how to use it. But here's the trick. Charm without novelty quickly deflates. Young women are looking for excitement, something that takes them out of their routine and makes them feel a positive kind of nervousness. You have to inject that novelty and nervousness into your interactions. For instance, instead of typical dates where everything is planned, surprise her with a little adventure. It can be something as simple as taking her to a place she's never seen or doing an activity that pushes her out of her comfort zone. That little touch of nervousness, that not knowing what's going to happen, is what will keep her hooked on you. The charm lies in knowing when to break with tradition and do something that leaves her wanting more. Seducing with science. Evidence-based tactics of attraction isn't an unattainable mystery. There's science behind what excites a young woman. And if you want to increase your chances of success, you need to understand some of these psychology-based tactics. For example, prolonged eye contact activates an emotional response in a woman's brain. It's not just about looking at her for no reason. It's looking at her with intention and confidence. Another science-backed trick is emotional reciprocity. If you show genuine and sincere emotions in conversation, she'll be more inclined to do the same. And once that emotional connection is established, desire isn't far behind. But be careful. This doesn't mean being overly emotional or vulnerable from the start. It's about striking a balance between showing genuine interest without appearing needy. Reinventing romance. Modern techniques for the classic man. Sometimes, what surprises a young woman most is a man who knows how to blend the classic with the modern. Romance isn't dead. It just needs to be reinvented. I'm not talking about the typical cliches of flowers and expensive dinners, but about small gestures that show you have class and appreciate detail. For instance, instead of the typical dinner at a fancy restaurant, cook a meal at home, but make it special. Play music. Create an intimate atmosphere. What you're doing here is demonstrating that you're a man who knows how to care for details, something many young guys simply don't understand. The surprise comes when she realizes that although you're a modern man, you still hold onto those classic values that make her feel special and desired. Instant activation. Words and gestures that awaken immediately. If you want to activate a young woman's desire quickly, you need to know what words and gestures provoke an immediate response. I'm not talking about cheap pickup lines. I'm talking about subtle and powerful gestures that make her feel something different. For example, one of the most effective tactics is a light, casual touch at the right moment. A subtle brush on her arm while you're talking, or prolonged eye contact that lasts just a second longer than normal, can make her heart race without her even realizing why. You don't need to be obvious or overdo it. The little gestures that seem casual are the ones that have the greatest impact. The reverse spell. When she starts to seduce you now, when you're doing things right, there will come a point where the dynamic will change. You won't be the one constantly seducing her anymore. She will start to seduce you, and you may wonder, how do you achieve that? Very simple, you have to give her space to play the role of the pursuer too. Young women love to feel in control of the situation from time to time. Once you've captured her interest, let her take the initiative at certain moments. Make her feel comfortable seducing you. The reverse spell is when you get her to seek to impress you. And when you reach that point, I guarantee she will be completely focused on you. Desire challenge. Provocations. She can't ignore provocations are one of the most powerful tools in seduction. But I'm not talking about being rude or inappropriate. I mean knowing how to challenge her in a way that awakens her desire without her realizing it. Young women are used to guys doing everything they can to impress them. But if you subtly challenge her, she'll see you in a completely different light. For example, if she feels very confident in her attractiveness, challenge her lightly, but without being hurtful. I'm not sure you're as interesting as you seem, but let's see if you can surprise me. With a phrase like that, you not only make her think but also activate that desire in her to prove to herself that she can impress you. What you're doing here is playing with her ego in a way that keeps her intrigued and wanting more. She will want to show you that she's as interesting and special as she implies. And in that process, she'll become more and more attracted to you. Seduction games. A guide to contemporary flirting. Flirting is an art. And if you master it, you can elevate any interaction to a whole new level. But here's the trick. It's not just about flirting for the sake of flirting. You have to do it well. Young women are used to guys trying to be too direct or lacking the skill to handle flirting in a smart and subtle way. Contemporary flirting is about playing with emotions, creating tension, and letting that tension build up naturally. You don't have to force anything. For example, if you're talking to her and see her start to smile at something you said, you can add something like, "I knew you'd like what I said, even though I'm not sure you can keep up." You're challenging her intellect and sense of humor at the same time, which will make the flirting become more intense without feeling like pressure. Also, never underestimate the power of pauses in conversation. Sometimes, a well-placed silence after a spicy or intriguing comment makes her the one who fills the space, giving you even more control over the interaction. The key is to keep the flirting fluid, fun, and always with a touch of mystery.